in good hands, securing various protocols and projects. He graduated from University of Waterloo a few years ago. When did you graduate? 2018, yeah, so just before COVID, so that was good. And he enjoys playing guitar, but that's not what he's here for today. He's here for giving us presentation on cybersecurity. I'll just read it because I don't want to say anything wrong. There are many scams today, such as advance fee scams, credit card scam, and cryptocurrency scams. Within the advancement of technology, it's important to stay up to date on how to secure your finances, and that's what we're going to hear today from him. Thank you, Aishwarya, for doing this. So please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Is this like a good distance for the mic? Everyone can hear, no crazy echoes? Okay. So, cybersecurity is pretty important these days just because of how fast AI is advancing, and we're getting to situations where it's just, how do you keep up with all of the new technologies and the new ways to find, ways to get your money? So there's a lot of different ways that we can prevent these scams, and we are going to explore them today. All right, so just some general numbers. $530 million lost due to scams in 2022, which is a 40% increase from $380 million in 2021. And the number goes up, $567 million in 2023. This is just Canada. In the US, you have billions of dollars of losses due to scams. So it's really important to realize that anybody can be hit with the scam, and the more you know.
Plus, where's another one? Go on that side maybe.
Feedback sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, how's this? Better? Okay. So the best way to figure out if you're about to be scammed or anything like that is to just really exercise a lot of common sense, but a lot of this creeps up without you having really known about it. So as long as you have some awareness, you'll be one step, away from being scammed. So let's start off with the next slide. All right, this is one of the craziest scams in the sense that just how many people are victims of it. It's called phishing. Phishing is a play on words, like fishing, like when you go fishing for machli. But the idea is that the scammer is luring you with information that looks like a real website into giving up your credentials. So, next slide. Right here, this is an example of a phishing scam. From the outside, it looks like just your bank is contacting you saying that someone has tried to access your account or that you need to log in.
Little bit.
Can you come this side? Yeah.
A little bit slow down. Ashwin, little slow down.
Okay. So you can see that they're trying to get you to click on this link, and it looks like a very trusted website. It looks like very legitimate, and that is why the other side.
It's okay. It's okay.
The mic's not long enough.
Oh, okay. Where is the other one? Where's the other mic? Try the other one.
How's this? Good? Alright, I think I'll just take a seat so that you can see the presentation and also listen to it without feedback. Okay, so again, on the surface, this is a trusted looking website, but when you click on the link, it's going to take you to a website that looks like it's trusted bank, but it's really not trusted bank. And then so you put your information like your username and your password, and you sign in, and now the scammer has, your username and password for this website. And everybody uses the same username and password for pretty much all their websites. So if you get it for one, you get it for pretty much all of them, which is really bad. So next slide. This is another example. So from the URL, you can tell it's actually FaceLock and not Facebook. But if you got an email saying, hey, you need to sign into your account, and you simply follow the link and enter your information, then This looks very legitimate, so you have to be very careful about the URLs you're clicking. And the number one way that people get trapped into this is when they click on an email. You get a bad email and you think, oh, this is from Facebook, this is from my bank, I should go see what's happening. So you also lose a little bit of awareness because you're concerned about someone breaking into your account. Or the bank is saying, hey, we detected something fishy. So you're like, what is happening? And then you lose that amount of time where you would have been vigilant and seen, oh, the website URL is different. So just exercise common sense, slow down. You can always go to your bank and see if something wrong is happening. But this is the most common way that people lose all their money because the scammer gets a hold of this information. Okay, wire fraud. So wire transfers are one of the ways that we send and receive money. And it's one of the ways in which we send and receive large amounts of money, especially internationally. So the most common system through wire fraud is really mortgage scams. Whenever you're making a down payment on your house, buying a $500,000 house, $100,000 down payment, if you get that routing number and account number wrong, then there's no real way to get the money back. You can file a report, you can go to whoever, but once it's done, you can't even cancel it sometimes. So this is the craziest in terms of just how bad it can be, because everybody puts as much as they can into their down payment. So that can really set you back a lot. Next slide.
So hold on. So what is the best way to transfer or do this kind of dealing, like big money transfer? What?
It's still wire fraud. Wire
तो
transfer.
क्या तरीका है बेस्ट तरीका इसका क्या है कि वायर ट्रांसफर नहीं करना चाहिए, कैसे करना चाहिए फिर?
You should still do wire transfers, but you have to be alert about how you go about doing the transfer to avoid getting scammed. So, for instance, you have to have a lot of information when you're actually buying your house and doing those kinds of deals as to how the money is transferred, who you are talking to. There's a lot of interested parties in, the process of buying a house. The broker, the realtors, and then even possibly the title company, lawyers. So as much education as you can give yourself about it and what the process is, you won't feel anxious or rushed at the time of actually doing the transfer, and you'll feel confident that, things are going smoothly. The easiest way to avoid getting wire fraud is to simply do the transaction at the broker's office, because then they can verify that the routing number and account number that you're wiring the money to is legitimate. This is a common thing, like with a man-in-the-middle attack, is where the scammer pretends to be the real estate agent and they give you the wrong routing and account number because they've hacked the emails. So this is one of those things where doing things in person can sometimes lead to that extra confidence that everything is going according to plan. You can also enlist a lawyer if you want more information about this.
Yes.
And
Hi.
When we are transferring money from India via the transaction, okay, is there any chances to getting a fraud? Because as a remittance, we are putting our money to bank, nationalized bank, and whatever the detail we are having, and from here Canada, I am giving some other guys, those who are living in Canada. So there may be chances of a wire transaction in fraud.
The fraud really happens when you're given a wrong number by somebody who's acting as an intermediary. If you're sending money to your friend and your friend tells you the wrong number by accident, well, that's pretty bad. But if you confirm the number, then there's no real chances of a fraud there. The fraud happens when somebody has hacked into the communications and then gives you the wrong number. So if you're just talking to your friend and he says this is the number, unless someone has kidnapped him and is telling him, hey, just pretend everything is fine, you're not going to get frauded out of money that way. You should be safe. But if you're sending small amounts of money, then you can always send like $5 first, verify that he got it, and then you can send the rest of the money. Yeah, I think that covers this slide. Grandparent scam. So this is a tricky one. It tugs at your heartstrings. The idea is that as a grandparent, if you have like grandchildren, then you get a text from a grandchild saying, I'm in big trouble, I need help, I'm in a car crash, something like that, and so I need help. I need $50 or, they're not going to tow my car, or I'm going to be stuck on the side of the road, or I need Uber, something like that. And the problem is that the text is coming from somebody who's just, they sound like your grandchild, maybe because they look at the text, you have no idea. And the number one thing is that they'll say, oh, please don't tell anybody, because they're embarrassed about the situation that they're in. Which, you're in a bad situation, you want to help, someone you love, and now you are out some money because of that. Next slide. So, I guess that is what I covered in this slide. Here are some ways to prevent this from troubling you. One, you can create a code word with your grandchildren. You can say that, hey, if you are in trouble and I ask you for the code word, you should be able to tell me what it is so that I know I'm actually talking to you. You can also contact others who know the party that you're trying to contact, because they'll say, oh yeah, no, he's right here, he's having a good time. Then you know that someone is playing with you and they're trying to get your money. And don't rush anything. It might seem that there's a lot of these scams, what they do is they prey on the system of time pressure. If you don't do this now, the consequences will be really bad. But even if you are arrested, then there's still a 24-hour period and you can make tons of phone calls and things like that to get a lawyer and other things. So even in the worst situation, there really is not a big time issue. Okay, this is one of the favorite scams, the Nigerian prince scam. This is known as an advance fee scam. There's a lot of feedback. Where's the speaker? It's that speaker, and there's that speaker.
Okay.
So if I stay behind the speaker,
पीछे गिर मत जाना, चेयर होल है पीछे होल है. हाँ.
Okay, this should improve it. So, the scam involves promising the victim a significant share of a large sum of money in return for a small upfront payment. That's the basis of the scam. It's a confidence scam. They're gaining your trust, and then they're saying, please send me some money so that I can unlock my funds and then give you a profit of them because you've helped me get my funds. So, for instance, the common one is they want to transfer all of their funds out of Nigeria because there's a civil war, or maybe they're a prisoner of war, something is happening. But in order to access their funds, they need to have the money to escape jail, or get a flight out, or pretty much, or I don't know, fabricate visas and passports. They'll come up with pretty much anything in order to justify what their fee is for what they gotta do. So then you have advanced fee scams where these have been very common throughout history, so there's lots of different variants. This one is probably not as common anymore, but it preys on people who have recently lost their spouse and they're a widower or a widowee. And the issue is that someone says, hey, we have profits totaling, I don't know, $200,000 because of your spouse's retirement accounts or something else. Where would you like us to send the money to? And you say, well, I'll have it sent here. And they say, okay, well, you just have to give us some of the administration and the taxes and other fees so that we can send it to you. And once you send it, or you send your own information to verify, you are the spouse, the money never comes, and they have your information to do something else. And this is really bad, just because you're mourning the loss of somebody, and then this comes along. So when you are in times of grief or that kind of thing, or when you are vulnerable, make sure that you're not doing anything out of haste, because that could lead to something really bad like this. This is just another example. A bank employee who is disgruntled or decides that they're going to steal some of their client's money, but they can't transfer it to themselves because that would look suspicious, so they're going to transfer it to you, and you're going to help them. And obviously when people lose money in this kind of scam, they tend not to report it because that would implicate them in crime. So in general, a lot of scams tend to go unreported because people are very embarrassed and ashamed about the fact that they lost, whether it was $2,000 or $20,000. It's not a great thing to tell people. So those numbers I showed you at the beginning, that's not a true representation of really how much money is lost, just because so much of it goes unreported.
So one question, I did not get it. How the financial officer can do the your money transfer? Because he's the responsible. He is working for the bank or some organization. How he can do that?
Well,
Explain a little bit more. Yeah.
So, for instance, there could be a wealthy client who died and they don't have a will or they don't have heirs to pass the money on to, and the bank employee says, I've got an amazing idea, I can take this money because it will go unclaimed. But what I have to do is I have to manufacture some documents, forge a will to show that this person was actually the beneficiary. But in order for me to do that, I need money from them to create those forged documents. Really, the scammer is going to come up with pretty much anything that sounds plausible enough to get to you. And the problem is that a lot of people are blinded by greed. I've been blinded by greed in the past, and I've lost money, not to scams per se, but bad investments. But in this sense, it's really just you see the dollar signs, and then that's what gets you. And that's what makes you, turn off your critical thinking brain and start to make decisions that you may not have done, like give them your personal information so they can verify it's you, or your bank details. And you might think, I'm not really stupid, I'm not going to fall for that. And you're right, you are not stupid, you're not going to fall for that, but some people are. And they send out these emails to hundreds of thousands of people, and the fact of the matter is that maybe 1% or 0.1% fall for it. And so then the scam is actually worth it because it doesn't cost money to really send an email. It's the same way that we see all these pop-ups, and you go to a website, it immediately pops up saying, hey, you have to subscribe. If you subscribe, you can get 15% off, 20% off, something. And everybody hates it. Nobody really likes, clicking it and having it go away. But it's there because there's actually some conversion. Some people do click it, and then that leads to money, and that's why there are so many Nigerian print scams, because it's cheap to do, and you do get results. Okay, investment scams. These ones are all the rage these days, and there's one reason for it, and that is Bitcoin, and some other reasons like AI. But the big deal is that now, like back in the day when you were investing in something, you would watch it grow slowly over time. But now you see a YouTube video and it goes, I bought Bitcoin and now I have, 2 Ferraris, a Lamborghini, and 3 boats, right? Because, the Bitcoin just went up dramatically and then they made, 2,000%, 3,000% in profit. So this kind of greed is also, it's a currency that we may not really understand. We don't get the concept of what is really cryptocurrency. What is it worth? Why is it worth so much? Why is the value of it changing so much? So unless you understand what you're investing in, then you shouldn't really invest into it. But what people see is the dollar signs. They see, I know somebody who got rich like this. Or they see a video on the person's website and they say, oh, first you just used to work a 9 to 5, but now I simply live off of the interest of my investments because I invested into Bitcoin. So these are investment scams. So for instance, you invest $500 into Bitcoin with a shady guy who says that he can, give you lots of money. And in the beginning, he says that you've made $250. And he even actually gives you the $250. And then says, if you give me more money, I can give you back more money. So he's established some trust with you. He's actually given back some of the money, and then you decide to invest a large amount. Or he says you have to invest a larger amount because his friend only deals with high-value clients. So then you decide to put in $50,000 or maybe $20,000, and then that money is gone. This one is scam courses. So these ones are interesting. A lot of people see things like, I'm a day trader and I made $240,000 last year trading options or bonds or anything else. And it all looks very fun, but at the end of the day, these guys really are not making that much money. It takes a lot of time to be a successful day trader, options trader, bonds trader. I think the average is it takes roughly 2 years for somebody who's sitting inside of JP Morgan or something to learn to trade and make that kind of returns. So really the only way you're going to be making any money doing this is, well, you're not. You're just going to lose all your money. The only person making money is just going to be the guy who sells you the course for making money. It's a little bit similar to the Yukon Gold Rush. Everybody who went up north to get gold, the only people who made money were the people making selling shovels. Because people wanted to get the gold, and so they sold lots and lots of shovels, but not many people actually got the gold. And that's a similar thing here, where you can see, I can make lots of money being a day trader. You probably can't, and you're not going to learn it from a random course. So I'm sure everybody already knows this, but just invest in whatever you understand. If it's just the S&P 500, then that's it. If you understand bonds really well, like municipal bonds and other kinds of assets, then invest in those. And if you like having a lot of fun, then you can invest into options. But as long as you understand what you're investing into, you're going to be okay. So if you don't understand cryptocurrency, don't invest into cryptocurrency. So these are probably the kind of YouTube videos or like ads you're going to get, something that's very catchy, something that makes it seem like you're just going to be, walking off of Rolls Royces and stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Credit card fraud. So this is a huge industry, and I am unfortunately a victim, not of credit card fraud per se, but just having my credit card info stolen. I got a message from my bank, Chase, saying that we've detected suspicious activity on your account. And these guys, they tried to buy makeup worth $200, and then when they got through, they bought makeup for $400. So obviously I had to dispute those charges and go through and then reject them. And thankfully they managed to do it. But if they had done it with $20 or $30, they probably would have gotten away with it. Now, how did they get this number? Well, anytime you give your credit card to a server, waiter, waitress, they have your entire card. They have the number, they have the CVV code, they have the expiration date. If they wanted to, they can take the pictures of both sides and then they simply have the information. I remember back when I was ordering pizza, I would literally read out the entire card number, the CVV code, and the expiration date, so if they wanted to, they can just write it down and they have it. And if they want to spend it to just buy gas or random things, who am I going to be to say, oh, I didn't actually make that purchase? So the most crazy one I would say is probably the skimmer. So what a skimmer is a small electronic device that attaches to payment, purchases, POS systems. I forget the point of sale. So it attaches to a point of sales device like this right here, but this is an ATM, a point of sale like where you tap or you insert your card to pay. And it will literally read the magnetic code on the strip and store it. Now this has to be done with the knowledge of the scammer in the sense that they're the cashier or they work at the store, because you can't really install it without that being the case. But it's crazy that you think, oh, I'm just gonna withdraw a couple $100 from the ATM for a birthday party or a gift I'm giving to somebody, good luck, that kind of thing. And now my credit card or debit card information is stolen because there's a skimmer on it. So how can you prevent this kind of thing from happening? You can probably just go inside the bank itself and do it from there. The other one is, in certain cases, you can try to tug on the actual attachment and see if it's loose or it falls off. If it does, then that's a scammer. And if you find one, obviously report it. The government will be very interested to know that there's an illegal activity happening of that kind. Costco, I know what they do is they have tapes with dates marked over the actual, plastic pieces, so people can see that this was secured and there's no skimmer attached on top of it. But hacking. Hacking is another way that credit card fraud happens. You have some random large company, they take a lot of credit card purchases, they get a lot of money, and their database is not secure. So somebody hacks the database and they have all these card numbers, and then the card company has to go out and say, oh, sorry, we lost all these card numbers. Here you go, you have a new card. But in that time, whoever hacked it just has access to, hundreds of thousands of card numbers, if that's how many they got, and they can try using them in all these different places. So there's not much to do in that situation. All you can really do is just watch your credit card statements to make sure that there's no unauthorized transactions. That's probably the easiest one. Sometimes we don't really look. We just say, oh yeah, I spent $700 this month. Oh yeah, okay, But you really do have to go through and look for any charges that you don't really recognize. Sometimes it can be easy to just do it on a weekly basis because you're not really going to remember a charge you made, 20 days ago. Just get into the habit of doing it if you do have to do that. Okay, so other ways that you can prevent credit card fraud. Using an RFID wallet. This prevents people who are walking by from simply scanning your card. It's pretty crazy, but it happens. You can walk past somebody, and if they have a scanner, they can read the magnetic code off of your card. When you get your driver's license, at least in Michigan, it comes with an RFID sleeve so that somebody can't just read the code and steal your identity. Don't carry a credit card unless you have an RFID wallet. If the option exists, opt to receive a text message or notification every time your card is used. So that's pretty useful, because then as soon as the card is used for anything and you say, I didn't make that purchase, you can immediately reject it versus having the option that it actually goes through. It'll be pretty annoying, but if you don't make too many purchases, then this is useful. Paying with cash. Obviously, there's no credit card fraud if you simply pay with cash. It's a pretty old currency these days because everybody just pays with card. But if you don't want to deal with the hassle of knowing, oh, am I going to be, scammed out of money, then you can simply just carry the cash. Okay, this is probably the strongest defense against credit card fraud, and that is using any kind of payment applications. What these do is they generate a one-time token. So the token can only be used once in order to make a payment. So the token is sent from Apple or Samsung or Google to the payment vendor, and then they authorize it and they say, great, this has been used to spend $50. And then the token is useless. So even if somebody were to steal the token, they can't use it for anything. And that's probably the greatest advancement or use of smartphone technology. And if you don't like having your smartphone on you at all the times, then you can make the payments with your watch or something like that. But this is, if you are going to use your credit card, then this is the best way to prevent credit card scams. Sweepstakes scams. So this is a fun one. Scammer tells you you won a car, you just have to pay the taxes, administrative fee, and other fees for getting the car to you. Or you win an iPad, in a random lottery, or really anything. And you have to pay some money in order to get it. Well, obviously you're gonna pay the money, and then you're just never gonna get the product. If you don't remember entering any kind of lottery or whatever for this kind of thing, it's probably a scam. This is a fun one. Someone's yelling at you on the phone, telling you that you owe the IRS or the CRA a bunch of money, and what you have to do, don't hang up the call, go to the nearest Best Buy, purchase a lot of gift cards, and tell me the numbers. If you feel like you're going to jail because they're threatening you that you're going to be arrested and that kind of thing, I mean, you can be rest assured that an IRS or CRA employee is never going to personally call you and demand money that way. So a bit of common sense in that way, that the government never contacts you by a phone call, unless you're dealing with like the Secretary of State or something, and you're just calling them to renew your registration. Then completely different matter altogether. But people who you owe money to are never going to call you to get the money unless they've sold that to a debt collector. And then even if they do sell it to a debt collector, the debt collector can't threaten you with anything because being in debt is not a crime. So that's the nice part. You can't ever go to jail for not having paid the money. I think except in cases like really bad cases of child support. But that's not an issue.
But in that case, lot of seniors are targeted for that. This kind of crime, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know that kind of information, that the government doesn't call you, then you might be worried about the fact that this person on the phone, I could actually end up arrested if I don't spend the $1,500 to pay back the government that I owe in taxes. Can you go back one second? Sorry. Okay. You go forward one second. Okay, this is one of my favorite scams, not because of any other reason except that there's a lot of YouTube videos with this one guy named Kit Boga. That's not his real name, that's just his YouTube name. His name is Kit Boga, and what he does is scam baiting. So he baits scammers and then he wastes their time, a lot of their time. And he strings them along and they're thinking, oh, I'm gonna make a lot of money from this guy, I'm gonna make $2,000 from this guy. And in the end, he doesn't give them anything. So this is the idea of an overpayment scam, that they give you a refund of some kind, but by accident they refund you $3,000 instead of $300. And then the sob story comes out, it's like, oh, I'm gonna lose my job because I gave you back too much money, please you have to transfer me the money back. And so then you transfer the money back, and then later you go and you realize you never actually got $3,000. And usually the way they want you to transfer the money back to them is through gift cards. So what Kitboga would do is he would take a very long time to get the gift cards, and then he would redeem them for himself instead of actually giving the gift card to the scammer. So this would be like a 6-hour long process, and you could hear through the phone call that the scammer is losing their minds, screaming at him to not redeem the cards, and he just redeems all of them. It's lots of fun to watch. It's a Kitboga, Kitboga. He has some great videos. Pretends to be an old person. He puts on like a fake voice, that kind of thing. But that's really why it's the most entertaining scam. It also preys on people who are not very well tech savvy, because it involves a lot of computer stuff. Okay, this is an interesting one. So this one is not around as much anymore, just because the FTC has regulated robocalls. I'm sure everybody has had the displeasure of having their phone go off and be like, oh, this is another scammer. I get these 5 times a day. And eventually, at some point, that just stopped happening. And we can thank Google, Microsoft, Apple, and the FTC for that, because they have very cool software that goes around and figures out, is this a mass call, or is this just, a regular person calling another regular person? And so they were able to put a crackdown to that pretty well. But what happens is that somebody does a robocall, you pick up the phone, you say hello, then they realize that you're a real person. And then they sell your number to other unscrupulous, not great people. And so they know that, oh, this is a person I can call and try to sell them an extended warranty on their car, which obviously is just nonsense. So if you don't recognize the number, don't pick it up, let it go to voicemail, and you can listen to that voicemail and decide for yourself if it's a real number or not. Okay, so we covered a lot today. There's tons and tons and tons of scams out there. We did scratch the surface, like we went through a lot. It's not like we missed huge scams that you're probably going to get hit by. I covered the big ones so that everybody knows what they are. The most useful stuff to do is to give yourself time. If you're about to do something, give yourself time to really look at what's happening. If you realize that you're in an emotionally charged situation, like, oh, my grandson is texting me or something else like that, and someone is demanding money or they're pressuring you for time, there usually is no time pressure. So just relax, take a breath, and use the common sense to figure out whether someone is trying to scam you. If you do become a target of a scam, report it. You may be able to get some of the money back. If you simply search up on Google, report scam or report fraud, there will be tons of hits in terms of Canadian and US websites and government agencies where you can report the scam. And even if you can't get the money back, it will at least help those agencies stop that scam from happening to other people. Thank you.
जो अकेले रहते हैं, my own mother-in-law was there, and one thing was, if somebody calls hello and if you say yes, they take it as a yes for giving information. The second one was coming to door and saying, I'm from this company, and my mother-in-law would say, घर में तो कोई नहीं है. So that is trouble, you're inviting people. And the third thing is on WhatsApp. All the seniors are active on WhatsApp, and she would get a lot of scam messages. We are very happy to, and they tend to respond, those are scammers too. So those things I felt with the seniors on a day-to-day basis, I felt that.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, don't pick up the phone unless you know the number. The second one was don't answer the door if you don't recognize them. Just let them leave the flyer, and then, that's pretty much it. And the last one was the WhatsApp, where I think I've seen this one actually. Somebody invited me to an investment group,
Right.
and they said, we're making tons of money hand over fist.
Every
You
day.
can make some money too.
Correct.
And obviously that was a scam.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions? I thought there will be many questions. और किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन है तो हिंदी में भी पूछ सकते हैं।
वो हिंदी में पूछ लीजिए, हिंदी समझ आती है उसको। हाँ
अब कोई बात नहीं, यू डिड अ गुड जॉब। बहुत अच्छा काम किया ऐश्वर्या तुमने। थैंक यू फॉर डूइंग दिस।